This is a fortress like no other. Located in the southern district of Israel in the Negev Desert, it's at the southern end of the Dead Sea and about 40 miles from Jerusalem. The sunrises here is one of the most beautiful sights in the whole state of Israel. This fortress was built by King Herod, and it was one of 3 fortified fortresses that he had built to protect himself from his enemies. Interestingly enough, even though this plateau is about 1,000 feet up off the desert floor, it's actually right about sea level, with sheer cliffs all the way around it, going straight down to the sea, to the desert floor.
Hi!
You guys enjoying the trip?
Yeah. Amazing.
In my unit, by the way, after we had done a march with full battle gear on, we did an 80-kilometer march through Israel, all the way through the desert up to here, and then we had to climb this mountain at the very end of that 80-kilometer march. And then when we finally got up to the top, we did our ceremony right at sunrise, and right at sunrise we got our badges for the unit. It was a very emotional, and it was a big moment in my life. I can tell you it's one of those moments I'll never forget in my entire life. Masada in Hebrew comes from the root word mitsudah, which means fortress. It is believed that David, after his meeting with Saul and cut his garment at En Gedi, when they parted ways, he had came here. Masada has a lot of history during the time of David and in the 1st century. The Romans had history here, and even the Byzantines, they have found a Byzantine church here. It's not surprising, and when you look around, you can see this is a very strategical place to be in the middle of all this desert. You're so high up here off the desert floor, and you have complete command of 360 degrees all the way around you of what's happening, what's going on. No one can sneak up on you. You see everything. Also, as we already know, as many times we've mentioned here, water was so important for people in the desert, and in this place was no different. Here they had very, very large cisterns for large water supply for a long time for a lot of people. In 66 AD began the big Jewish revolt. So this place became the refuge for the Jews who wanted to leave Jerusalem and find refuge someplace else. Only a few years after that, about 6 years actually, in 73 AD, the Romans came to siege Masada. As you can see below, towards the Dead Sea, there still remains the ruins in a perfect square where they built their camp that they had made during the time they were doing the siege on Masada, as well as the remains of the ramp on the other side to come up to siege the place at that time, to take this place. Right here is where the Israelites took their last stand. There was about 1,000 of them here. This was the last stronghold of the Israelites before the Romans completely took over and Israel completely failed. This, as we know, was the result of the Jews denying Jesus as the Messiah. In Luke 19:41 through 44, it says, and I'm going to read, "And when he was come near, he beheld the city, and wept over it, saying, If thou hadst known, even thou, at least in this thy day, the things which belong unto thy peace. But now they are hid from thine eyes, for the days shall come upon thee, that thine enemies shall cast a trench about thee, and compass thee around, and keep thee in the every side, and shall lay thee even with the ground, and thy children within thee. And they shall not leave in these one stone upon another, because thou knowest not the time of thy visitation." So as we read, this was the prophecy of Christ to the Israelites, of the fall of Israel and the result of them not accepting him as the Messiah. During the time the Romans were below and set up camp, the last Israelite stronghold up here could see their fellow people enslaved and doing slave labor to build the Romans' camp, and including the ramp that they were building to come up and take them. This was also a great tactic for the Romans, being that the Israelites up here would not attack from above the builders of the ramp, seeing that they were their own countrymen. Now don't forget, just recently they could still remember being slaves in Egypt. Now they see that they're being slaves again right here below as the Romans are coming to attack. So they see their own fellow people enslaved. Well, right here, right behind me, you can see the remains of the ramp that was built, that the Romans used to come up here. And this would have been the entrance point right here. Right about right there would have been the entrance point. Well, right behind me is a beautiful view of the Dead Sea, the lowest spot in the face of the earth. And right down here on the other side, close to the Dead Sea, on the other side from the ramp, you can see another square where the Romans had another camp. This would have been probably, it looks like, for the officers and stuff like that. But look at this view, huh? Wow. After a few months it took them to build that ramp, they were able to finally make it through the walls up here and penetrate Masada. And what do you think they found? After all the time and effort to finally make it up here, they start the battle. All they found was burning structures, and all the people were dead. The night before the Roman soldiers made it up here, the leader of the Jewish people, Eleazar, gathered everyone and made a proposal. He said, this is what he said: God had not created them to be slaves. The Romans are angry with us. They will probably kill most of us. Those who are not killed will be mistreated and forced to be slaves. Our women will be raped and violated, and our children will be forced to be slaves as well. So the only option we have as free people is to take our own lives. The Jews that were here believed that it was a better fate to die than to be captured by the Romans and to be slaves again. So legend has it that they killed each other, and the last one committed suicide by falling on his own sword. So what can we learn from the sad history of this place? The people of Masada faced a horrible fate, even though they were God-loving people, because of the decisions of their leaders. When the leaders of Israel denied the Messiah, the entire nation of Israel paid the price. The leaders are always the ones that direct the nation. And it's the same today. God will judge a nation by the direction its leaders take it, even though you still have God-loving believers in the nation. Israel fell in 73 AD, and God didn't give it back to the Jews till 1948.
Riding the cable car.
Riding the cable car.
Oh,
It's the only way to do it when you come up here.
it's so much fun.
I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to join us on thegoldenreport.com. And until next time, God bless.